Beijing, 1994. My older brother enters a long jumping competition with my cousins in the sitting room of my aunt's house, and my brother has the false bravado that he can jump across 5 pillow cushions laid out back to back. He makes it about 3. He's a good little jumper, but what he doesn't account for is an old antique knob sticking out of a TV console that catches his knee, rips it to shreds. He has to get stitches in the hospital, and a few days later, on his birthday, he's given a massive Power Rangers toy, like all the Power Rangers, like all the vehicles, to make like the Megazord, and he wouldn't let me play with it. And so I hit him in the scar on the knee. I couldn't believe the reactions of my family, and I learned 2 very important lessons there. 1, scars take a long time to heal, especially family scars. And 2, I can be ruthless. Much like Logan Roy, the lead character in TV Succession, the greatest show on TV right now. Its 4th and final season, streaming every Monday, available on Now. And you know what's great about a neat little show like Succession, only 4 seasons? It means you can catch up on all that. Also available on Now before you watch the finale, which everyone's going to be talking about. So check it out. And now, on with my stuff.
It's Tony Cantwell's Shitshow.
All right. How you getting on? You well? You well? You well? Oh my God, it's Easter's coming up. They don't lie. Your eyes on me. Yes. As a Catholic, yes. I'm elated, but also sad. It's weird. This is a thing you can't really get into with the whole Catholicism thing. Or I just felt out of sync with. Maybe some people could have been into it, you know. But it's kind of like, just seems like it's a bit of a, a bad director at the helm. Am I elated? You're supposed to be elated, but you're also supposed to be sad. You don't get too happy, but you're also meant to be like, every kind of emotion. It's like Jesus is born, but then Herod's gonna have everyone killed. It's like born, but in a shed. Oh, but Jesus was born, yay, in a shed. Oh, but then all the wise men came, hey. And then they killed all the babies. Oh, it's hard to get into it. Okay, just what is this? Is this a dramedy? What is it? It's just. I'm going to say it. I don't think the Gospels are very well written. Hey, come at me, bro. Come at me, bro. But Jesus is back. Jesus comes back. And poor Thomas, I have to say. Doubting Thomas, to have a legacy, a double millennia legacy, that you're like, not even like the Scully level of skeptic, but you're kind of like the fucking spoil sport at the resurrection of Christ. Like, all I'm saying is, it's just very unlikely. It's just very unlikely he would be back. We saw him die, No one comes back from that. We buried him. We put a big rock in front of his cave. Why would he be back? Just seems very and he's like, but look at a hole in my hand. I mean, anyone who would do that, I'm scared. So yeah, I'll buy anything. Okay, it's Jesus Christ. Yeah, Jesus Christ. This guy just cut a fucking hole in his hand. Just make me believe that he's, Christ. How would you even get a cave? You probably have to get a mortgage for a cave now. Although I tell you, sometimes I'm bloody daft. I feel like I'm looking at the bloody cave Christ was buried in. Comments underneath daft. Hey, where's the big rock? Huh? For the cave that Christ was buried in. Huh? This is a shit gaff. That's the sort of shit I get up to in my spare time. Did some hardcore complaining, procrastinating emails there yesterday. Just complaining about stuff. It was like, these things were not even on my to-do list, based purely on, anxiety-induced or, procrastination-induced, anxiety. Procrastination-induced anxiety. And I'm like, yeah, I need to lash out. Hang on a second. Just a few annoying things, Although I will say this, procrastination is not a real thing. Procrastination does not exist. I've said it before. There's a lot of reasons you wouldn't want to do something, But anyway, Easter's here. What egg are you going to get? Now I'm immediately out of this conversation. Oh, did you get an egg? Oh, when would you get? So now I'm already checked out of this conversation. Do you know what I like? Which eggs I like? I like the Cadbury's eggs. I just think Cadbury's is the best chocolate. I think going into a fancy restaurant, man, and sometimes it's like a bloody creme brulee or a goddamn panna cotta. Just get. I would give if they were like, just look, it's socially acceptable now just to eat a dairy milk at the table on a plate. I would pick that 9 times out of 10. That is better than most desserts. You know, a mint crisp. I'm a big mint guy. Terrifying if I am. Well, I am a big mint guy, you know. I haven't eaten yet today. But what are you going to get? What's that tortoiseshell one? Is that a Nestle one or is that the Mars Corporation? Because they are corporations. Feeding you fucking. Here's your fucking schnackte. You know? Here's your fucking cocoa schnackte. You know? Idevale. It is mad though, isn't it? Having mascots for like sad things, you know, like Jesus Christ, you know, died. Like they hammered, and this was it's weird when like religion teachers are like, yeah, I can get away with this. You know, they didn't hammer into his hands; they hammered into his wrists because that's the only way it would keep him up. It would have ripped. That's what they're telling us. Well, you know, they actually hammered through his wrists because they wouldn't have been able to hammer through his hands because. It would have just torn through his hand. And I'm like, okay. Why the fuck? What? Okay, good. Thanks for telling me that. Can we get back to oxbow legs, please? Something relevant. You know? Oh, yeah, good. Like, you know, I feel like being a teacher is like me doing this podcast. You know, saying loads of shit, most of which I don't mean, because I have to fill time, you know? And that's education. It just so suits Ireland, doesn't it? Just that kind of like, give with one hand, take with the other kind of joy and misery of being a Catholic, doesn't it? Like Good Friday. It's not good though, because that's when he died. Don't be getting, you know. But you just told me it was good. Well, it's actually from God's Friday. They changed the name for some reason, and we haven't changed it back. You know? That doesn't sound very good. You know? No, but it is good because he comes back. But be sad about it or something. It's so hard to get a read on it, you know? It's like, and it comes just at the right time with the weather, you know? Where it's just like a gorgeous sunny day, but like, I guess spring has finally sprung and pissing down, you know? It's just the you know, I think that's why it's caught on so well, the whole Catholic thing, because it's exactly in line with our temperament, you know? Of being like, well, I'm going to drop some fucking, you know, oh, I got the job. Well, you know, Sharon from down the road is dead. You know? Okay. You know? It's give it one hand, take with the other. But, and you wonder as well with Christ. I know I'm all over the place here. I just had written on my phone, loosely talk about Easter, and that's what I'm doing. But, you know, but I used to love Jesus. I used to love Jesus so much. I used to think he was so great. I used to love seeing pictures of him, like, hugging black kids and all, you know, that you'd see that were on the wall of our school. You'd see that as well, Edmund Rice hanging out with a bunch of black kids. And I'm like, it's not that I don't believe you. It's not that I don't believe this happened, you know. I think it's great. I think inclusion's great. But I don't believe that there was... I'm going to pivot away from this. But anyway, look, I used to love Jesus. I used to think he was so great. The hardest I ever fucking prayed was when my PlayStation 1 broke. And I couldn't understand what was happening. On the TV, it was like... And it was new. PlayStation was like a week old. It was after Christmas. And after my birthday, I think. Was it the greatest birthday ever? Greatest Christmas ever? I think it was after my birthday. And I couldn't figure out what happened, right? And I remember this, getting into my mom's bed just for comfort, you know, just for like feeling like, like my heart is low. My heart was so low that only my mother's bed can fix, you know? And like praying and promising. I was like, Jesus, I fucking swear to your lad that if you fix me PlayStation, I'll give everything. I will commit my life to Christ. I will commit everything. I will be the most pious follower of your gospel, of your word. And then I found there was just some switch at the back that fixed it, you know. There was some weird shit with PlayStations back then that you could like switch it to like a different setting for like an American TV. and any European TV. Now, did Jesus give me the knowledge to fix it? Either way, I kind of was like, thank you, Christ. And then like an hour later, was totally off the idea. It was kind of like Jesus, psych. More like Jesus Christ, no, Jesus Sykes. More like, So, that's bullshit. Well, I was a child promising something. You know what I mean? But anyway, look. So I was mad into him then. I'll tell you what got me off Christ. Weirdly, was religion. It was in. We had a history teacher who was a religion teacher as well, and we learned about the Reformation. About people kind of going off the Catholic thing. The minted wealthy Vatican. The following all the holy wars on the genocide, and the genocide of the what's it called? The Crusades, I mean, they skip over that, but like that had happened, And then Martin Luther's like, what if we actually just look at the book and stop having people tell us what if we actually look at what the people actually said rather than having people interpret for their own financial good and the selling of indulgence. Like, you're teaching Catholics about the Reformation and just using the facts. I'm like, this doesn't shine us in a great light. The Catholics, buying your way into heaven, paying for popes to have fancy silks, and Michelangelo painting all this shit. Is that where the money's going? Is that where my 20p's going when the hat comes around on Sunday? And I was like, I remember saying, Miss, so you just telling me that the main difference here between a Catholic and a Protestant is that Protestants more believe what it actually just says in the book, and Catholics have added extra rules about like that kind of punish us, like chastity and all that crap, Like, are you telling me the only difference between like a Lutheran and a Catholic is that Lutherans are just really going by what Jesus actually said? She's like, yeah, but like, And I'm like, then what the fuck? And then once you're kind of 1 foot out, it's hard to get back in fully, Because I'm like, well, I'm not going to go find a Protestant and be like, hey, can you make me a Protestant with you? So I'm like, now I'm kind of out of the whole thing. Now I'm like, wait, hang on. If Catholic isn't the best one, hang on a second. If Catholic isn't the best one, then I'm out on Catholic. And, I'm just getting into Pokemon right now. So I don't really want, I don't really have the time to commit to like Church of Ireland kind of stuff, Lady Vickers aside, So I was whole hog in on Christ, until I was like, well, and then like it's mad that like learning in a Catholic school about the history of Catholicism, and we're like, well, that doesn't sound great, and they're like, yeah, it isn't great, and I'm like, so what are you asking me to buy in? What's the buy-in here on being a Catholic, And I was like, well, if other people believe something that sounds better, and I don't want to believe that either, then but it happens for different people at different times, You kind of just become agnostic or an atheist. Being an atheist was like getting into Nirvana. I'm actually an atheist. Oh my God. I was a Satanist for a while because I read something once that said that Satanists, I think this was part of the literature my brother would have had when he was becoming a witch full-time, becoming a full-time witch, Wiccan. And it said Satanists actually don't worship the devil. What they actually worship is the concept that we are no greater than an animal, that animals and humans, that we don't have some sort of holy right on these lands, And I'm like, well, maybe change the name, Satanist kind of gives, maybe if it's like animalist, that sounds fucking savage. I'm kind of an animalist. I can't believe wolves are as good as me, What the fuck am I talking about? What am I talking about? Why are you listening to me? I feel like this is exactly like being a religion teacher and just having to kill time, Well, Tony, they actually didn't nail his hands. They nailed his fucking wrists into the cross. There's no way the body would have been supported by the hands alone. Would have ripped through the fucking thumb bone. And I'm like, can we get back to oxbow legs? Why are you telling me this? Why are you telling me this? What about, my future life as a content creator? Well, actually, if anything, I have used that experience more in my job than maybe if I got a job in Deloitte, So, #blessed, it was probably worth it in the long run. I can spin a yarn, because of these ridiculous stories that I was told. But I used to love him, Christ. But I thought what I would do this week, because I'm kind of just vamping right now, is ask ChatGPT and ChatGPT-4. As you know, I'm a good collaborator with ChatGPT, the AI. As you know, I tell my son, I'm like, I'm going to work and working with my little robot mate. Here we go, number 1. This is 20 things nobody talks about when it comes to Christ. I should start a Christian YouTube channel. Jesus was a common name in 1st century Palestine. Hey, Palestine! Ole, 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 ole. Deriving from the Hebrew name Yeshua or Joshua. Mr. Connery. You're confused. I'm not your waiter. He's your waiter. No, Yeshua. I saw you. You took my order. Any good? Jesus is also a very common name now, The old Latinx community, very on the nose when it comes to being a good Catholic Christian, Jesus, my name is Jesus, It's great. I think that's, in for a penny, I remember working in a call center, having to call, I remember calling a guy called Muhammad Islam. And I'm like, guess what this guy's into, You just don't get a lot of people going by, especially in Ireland, going by Jesus, That's as well, that's as well kind of in line, South Americans are like, I'm fucking Jesus, I'm fucking Jesus, Fernandez. Jesus Fernandez, People walking around with that name. But like Jesus Murphy is kind of like, again, within our station being like, or you can love something, but not fucking too much. Jesus Christ, what are you? Jesus? Another one. He likely spoke Aramaic, the common language of the region, but he also may have known Hebrew and Greek. Wow. 3 languages. That's more than me. Hey, maybe this guy, I've actually outlived him as well, which is pretty cool. No, I didn't. Who's to say that? I mean, was he as big? I have probably reached more people. I have more followers than him. Maybe these podcasts sometime will be considered gospel. Maybe in 1,000 years there'll be churches of like cats with big tits, cartoon cats with big tits in stained glass. You never know. That's an interesting idea for a podcast. If my podcasts were found and reinterpreted in 1,000 years, what would the Bible look like? What would the rule set be? And what would their belief structure be? Interesting. File that away. Jesus was a skilled craftsman, often referred to as a carpenter, but the original Greek word tekton implies a broader range of skills, including stone masonry. What can this guy not do? He can turn water into wine. He can make you a table. He can probably, what would he be masoning then? Probably just actually making round rocks. I mean, a stonemason's just basically turning round rocks into square rocks. Because that's not as cool. Hard. I couldn't do it. Jesus. But it's not like sculpting. You know what I mean? I suppose I need to just know what a stonemason is. The Bible does not mention Jesus' physical appearance, and artistic depictions of him have varied over time and across cultures. My favorite is probably the Madonna Like a Prayer one. Stunning African-American man. Although he was actually just an African model. I don't remember the actor's name. But stunning, And like good on Madonna, being like, not only is he not blue-eyed, white with long hair and a beard, he's a black dude, and I'm gonna ride him. I'm gonna kidnap your Christ, make him black, and I'm gonna ride him, and then I'm gonna shoot you. Any Veronica Guerin fans out there? That's a quote from Veronica Guerin. Jesus was probably not an only child. He had siblings, including James, who later led the Jerusalem church. Fuck. I feel like he's like my brothers Ben and Ashley, who I don't mention as much on this podcast. I talk about Andy a lot because he's my older brother, and I would have spent a bit more time with him, So in the gospel of my life, he's unfortunately getting a little bit more. Not that he fucking needs it. Viral sensation, Andy Cantwell, But Ben and Ashley probably don't get a look in. They're probably the James in this Christ story. James as well. It is mad how, like, some names, like James, it sounds so like such an anglified name, you know. You know, like Mary as well. Like people be saying, "Oh, Mary" in like an Aramaic accent, which I will perform for you now, which I think would sound a little something. Can you do Aramaic? Is that still around? Because if you can do that, if the language is dead, then you can't cancel me for doing the accent. Come on. Aramaic also continues to be spoken by the Assyrians of Iraq, northeastern Syria. Bollocks. Can't do the accent anymore. Okay, grand. That's grand. Just as long as I know. Jesus was baptized by John the Baptist, an important event that marked the start of his ministry. Jean the Baptiste. What do you do for a living? It's in the name. I'm fucking baptize you, man. I'll dunk you in the water, man, and make you all nice and clean and like wash away the sins, man. Because you know Eve, man, she gave you like the fucking apple, man. She robbed that shit, and so you're dirty, man. I need to wash you in the water, Jean the Baptiste. I always liked stories of John the Baptist because I always kind of considered him like an older brother because he was like the cousin. He was like Jesus' cousin, and I always kind of viewed him as like a cool older brother, kind of like a Jake Summers, you know, because I was watching, you know, California Dreams at the time. I kind of viewed him as like a Fonzie to Jesus' Richie Cunningham, you know, and then he had his bloody head cut off. Oh my God, Jezebel, I think it was Jezebel, asked for the head of Jean the Baptiste, and you never quite hear how Jesus reacted. You kind of get a bit of gospel blue balls from that, you know. Was he sad? It's kind of like Chewie not giving Leia a hug after Han Solo gets killed. You should have seen the fucking Force Awakens. It made $2 billion. But it kind of, you know, you're getting that kind of like, fuck, like, you know, was he all right? His ministry lasted about 3 years, during which he preached, performed miracles, and gathered disciples. Is this something people don't know about Jesus? Did you know that Jesus had disciples? Come on, ChatGPT. Jesus' teaching often used parables to convey deeper spiritual truths. Did they? I mean, yes, they did. But or were they just more, you know, like you go to a mound, okay, see some fella talk, and he's like, 2 mice fell into a bucket of cream. One quickly drowned the other. Struggled so much he churned that cream into butter and climbed out. You know? You listen to that, you're probably like, well, I've come all the way here. I better get something from it. You know what I mean? It's kind of the same way people are terrified of doing stand-up, you know? And you forget that there's a group of people there that traveled a long way to have a good time, excluding you. They came there to have a good time. So they're going to take something from it. So all you have to do is just make sure it's there on a plate for people to laugh and you're not in the way of it. You know what I mean? So if he's doing a parable, people are going to be like, don't really know what he's talking about with the bucket of cream, but maybe he meant this, you know? Kind of like Bob Dylan lyrics. Oh, here's an interesting one. Again, I don't know if this is true, ChatGPT. Jesus was an apocalyptic preacher, it says here, who believed the kingdom of God was near and called for repentance. Is that true? Is that true now? Was his whole thing not the good news? Was that not the whole spiel? Was his whole thing not, you know, you've read Book of Revelations, right? You've, you know, you've heard about this apocalypse and, you know, a 90 fucking winged angel that looks like a fanny coming to suck you all up, you know? You know, blight and war and pestilence and all those horsemen are on the way, you know? Beelzebub, etc. You've heard all that. I'm actually here to tell you that God loves you. And you can call him Papa. You can call him Father. You know, he's your daddy. He's not someone to, you know, and that was his whole spiel, and that's what caught on. The idea that, oh, the end of the world's coming, and you should be bricking it. I don't know if that's true. Correct me if I'm wrong. Correct ChatGPT if that's wrong. The lost years. The Bible provides little information about Jesus' life between the age of 12 and 30, leading to speculation and various theories about what he did during that time. To be honest, that's probably the part of my life I'd overlook the most, to be honest, you know. Between 12 and 30, a bit of a blur, you know. You know, I have the up to 12 innocence, you know, getting boners, and then and then becoming a professional comedian. That's kind of how I view my life as well. Kind of like Christ, you know. Goes like, you know, hanging around, making some good mates, being in the school plays, getting into, you know, video games, finding girls attractive, going onto my Sega Dreamcast, typing in porn.com, and then just a fog for the rest of my life. And 30, becoming a full-time, 2018, my 30th year, becoming a full-time comedian. So that's kind of like, you know, a bit of a blur. I know I have a lot of stories to pull from then, so it's not exactly lost years, but I get you. Man, I get you, Christ. You know, I'm with you, bro. And look, sorry, this is a very short episode. I have to get out of here. I arrived late, and I'm now eating into someone else's time here in the phenomenal podcast studios here in McGuinness Place. But thank you very much for listening and for watching, and have a phenomenal Easter. Go in peace, love and serve the Lord, and longer episode next week. Bye.
Shitshow.